Kanye visits the White House, the press lose their minds, and we check the mailbag. I'm Ben Shapiro. This is The Ben Shapiro Show. So Elon Musk's theory is that we are all living inside a computer simulation, that this all isn't real. Yesterday, he had some pretty good evidence for his theory because Kanye West and Donald Trump were in the Oval Office, and Donald Trump is president, and Kanye West was visiting, and that was a thing that happened in real life. And we'll talk about all of those things. First, I have a couple of reminders for you. First of all, tune in today, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, for another special live stream of Another Kingdom, Season 2, Episodes 1 and 2. Episode 1 will be free in its entirety. Only the first 15 minutes of the second episode will be available to watch on Facebook and YouTube. To be able to watch all of Episode 2 and every other episode in the new season of Another Kingdom, you have to become a Daily Wire subscriber. All you have to do is click on the link in the description. Also, reminder, Sunday is the final episode of the Ben Shapiro election special on Fox News. We've been blowing out the ratings, and we hope that you will see our final episode. It's going to be awesome. We have lots of great material, so go check that out. It's 8 p.m. Eastern on Fox News on Sunday. Lots of good stuff going to be on that show, so go check that out. And also, before we get to the news, I first need to remind you that you need to eat. Fill your belly and do it in style with Blue Apron. Okay, Blue Apron allows you to cook pre-prepared, pre-portioned ingredients into a gourmet meal. You do it in your own kitchen. Here's how it works. You choose chef-designed recipes, and then they deliver fresh, seasonally inspired ingredients. You can cook incredible meals in as little as 20 minutes. Cooking, particularly if you have kids, it's a lot of fun, and the dinner is gourmet style. It's really good stuff. Blue Apron does all the meal prep for you. Again, dinner in as little as 20 minutes. Every week, at least 3 recipes are built with your busy schedule in mind, where Blue Apron has done the meal prep. They've prepared the sauces, the spices, the ingredients, and they offer a range of recipes bursting with flavor. Whether you are looking for quick and easy meals or a full culinary cooking experience, Blue Apron lets you choose from a range of recipe options. Blue Apron's awesome. People around the office have been using it for a long time. BlueApron.com/Shapiro. You get your first 3 meals for free. Again, that's BlueApron.com/Shapiro to get those first 3 meals for free. You're going to be cooking stuff like stir-fried sweet chili chicken, right? I mean, this is like gourmet stuff. Tomato and basil pesto pizza with roasted cauliflower on the side. I mean, this is solid stuff, and you're going to be cooking it yourself, and it's less expensive than going to a restaurant, and also it's better. So go check it out right now. BlueApron.com/Shapiro. Again, BlueApron.com/Shapiro to get your first 3 meals for free. Okay, so yesterday was a thing that happened in real life. Kanye West, as I've always said, live by the Kanye, die by the Kanye. But yesterday, the President of the United States lived by the Kanye because Kanye West came to the White House. Now, as I've said for many months at this point, do I think that Kanye West is the world's best political commentator? Do I think that he's on par with, the late Charles Krauthammer? No, I don't. Do I think that he knows a lot about politics? I don't think that he's read tons of books, but do I think that he has a unique perspective on the world? That I do. And do I think that he has every right to express that perspective just as anyone else would? Absolutely. And do I appreciate more than anything that Kanye West has basically said, look, I'm an individual. I'm not just a black man who fits in your category. I'm an individual with my own thoughts and experiences and feelings, and that allows me to think outside the box with regard to my politics without you trying to club me into place like a baby seal. That I appreciate. That I appreciate. And when Kanye wears around the MAGA hat and he says that this basically is me just saying to the world, I can think for myself, that's a message that I like and appreciate and think is actually deeply important. Because even if it's coming from a guy who I don't think is world's most knowledgeable about politics, that's not a message that requires you to be all that knowledgeable about politics. Saying, I like to get more information, I like to think for myself, and I'm not going to be the person you think I ought to be simply based on the color of my skin. Deeply, deeply important message from Kanye West. So Kanye has been, what's funny is all the people on the left who are very upset at Kanye. Like, oh, well, what's Kanye actually doing except shilling for Trump? Kim Kardashian got a woman freed from prison. What have you done lately? I didn't even agree with Trump's decision on that, on Alice Marie Johnson, who was leading a drug ring, it turns out. But she was pardoned by President Trump because Kanye West and Kim Kardashian lobbied. It is that simple. And Kanye West has been pushing hard for criminal justice reform, so has Kim Kardashian. And President Trump is about to overrule Jeff Sessions on criminal justice reform in the same way, largely because of Kanye's lobbying. So Kanye, by extending a hand, actually received a hand in return, which is why you saw that meme from Predator going around the other day of the Arnold Schwarzenegger arm and the Apollo Creed arm, the Carl Weathers arm locked in the muscly embrace. That's what you saw yesterday at the White House. So it was wild. I mean, let's not pretend that this was a meeting of brilliant minds on serious issues. It was Kanye West and Donald Trump in the Oval Office in a scene directly out of Idiocracy. But Was it important for the culture that there be somebody in a prominent position to say, yeah, I'm allowed to think for myself? Yeah, that's important stuff. So anyway, Kanye goes to the White House. And again, I don't like celebrity politics, but this is the world we have chosen. This is where we live. I hate celebrity politics. When it was Obama, I used to mock the crap out of him for this sort of stuff. I hated it when it was Hillary Clinton. Used to mock her incessantly for this sort of stuff. I don't like it from Republicans either. But, and so when I say I don't like celebrities in the Oval Office, and I don't like the meeting with the president, and I don't like all of the pomp and circumstance and show and all that, believe me, I don't. But since this is the world we have chosen and the world we have chosen to live in, it is hypocritical for folks on the left to suggest great when Obama does it, terrible when Trump does it. Anyway, Kanye shows up at the White House and things got wild. Things got really wild because it turns out that Kanye is a wild dude. So here he is in the Oval Office wearing his MAGA hat, and the press are just eating this stuff up. The press, the very serious press, who say, no, we must treat the president with the presidency and the Oval Office with all sorts of respect. They're eating this up. They love it. They couldn't love anything more. So here was Kanye yesterday saying that Trump did not expect a crazy mofo like Kanye. Fair enough. Here he is.
Trump is on his hero's journey right now, and he might not have expected to have a crazy motherfucker like Kanye West run up and support, but best believe we are going to make America great.
Okay, so the press went nuts over this particular comment for a couple of reasons. One, saying that Trump was on a hero's journey, which is pretty Joseph Campbell, and second, him dropping mofo on TV in the Oval Office. So Jim Acosta tweeted this out. Jim Acosta tweeted out, Kanye just said mother effer in the Oval Office per White House pool. And people were like, are you okay, Jim? Is it gonna be okay, Jim? Because that's ridiculous. Like, not to put too fine a point on it, but Bill Clinton got blowjobs in the Oval Office. So I'm really not gonna go. If we're gonna talk about things that disgrace the Oval Office, like cigars have had human bodily fluids on them that didn't come from the oral cavity in the Oval Office. Like, they had to steam clean all the carpets after Bill Clinton left. And there's a book fully describing Rahm Emanuel dropping the MF bomb repeatedly in the Oval Office. So, no, Jim Acosta. I love Jim Acosta getting all hot and bothered about all of this, like clutching his pearls. It's amazing. It's just amazing. So, Jim Acosta. Anyway, so Kanye says all of that. And then Kanye goes on and he says, you know what? I love my MAGA hat. Now, we know he loves his MAGA hat because he said this before. He was on SNL and he said, my MAGA hat is just the best thing ever, which I got to admit, it's pretty fantastic that Kanye wears a MAGA hat. It is, because just the juxtaposition of Kanye, who is, I have been told by the Utes, one of the cooler people in America, wearing a MAGA hat. And let's be straight about MAGA hats, just as a general rule, just aesthetically. There's something that my family wore at like the Shapiro family picnics in 1996. That you got from like the mass production store that had like, you remember it had like the little woven band that goes just above the brim of the cap. So Kanye wearing that as sort of an ironic feel is just spectacular. So here's Kanye talking about why MAGA hats are awesome. And you got to appreciate it, man. You can do one of two things. You can either cry at the tragedy that this is what our national politics has become, or you can laugh at the fact that Donald Trump is now swiveling every pop culture meme the left ever created back on them and slapping them in the face with it, which is just hilarious.
It was something about when I put this hat on, it made me feel like Superman. You made a Superman. That's my favorite superhero. And you made a Superman cape for me also as a guy that looks up to you, looks up to Ralph Lauren, looks up to American industry guys. Non-political, no bullshit. Put the beep on it, however you want to do it, 5 seconds delay, and just goes in and gets it done.
Yes. Okay, so first of all, I learned a couple of things in that clip. One, Superman is Kanye's favorite superhero, which is good. I mean, that's a good pick. I'd go with Batman myself, but Kanye's got his own taste, man. And then we also learned that the MAGA hat is like a Superman cape, which is just spectacular. You could see the media members in the room collapsing in on themselves like dying stars. It's just great. And then Kanye does the worst thing in the world. He gets up and he says about President Trump, I love this guy. Now, what's hilarious about this is that until Donald Trump ran for president, this was the view of Hollywood. Donald Trump was very popular with all of these people in the media. He was very popular. He was very popular in Hollywood. Like, he'd go around in Hollywood, people would be backslapping him, giving him hugs. He was doing cameos on every show. So it's kind of funny now that, oh my God, Kanye gave him a hug. Everybody loved Donald Trump until the guy ran for president in 2016, at which point everybody hated Donald Trump. But here was Kanye breaking the ultimate taboo and making physical contact in the flesh with Donald J. Trump.
I love this guy right here. Let me give this guy a hug right here. I love this guy right here. Yeah, him in.
There it is. There's the Carl Weathers, Arnold Schwarzenegger hand grip. Just amazing stuff. And then Kanye actually had some pretty good political comments. So we'll do the good and then we'll get to, the weird. So he had some good political comments about racism. What he said is basically, you can't use racism as an excuse for failing in America anymore. Instead, maybe we ought to think about how we actually better the country. Seems pretty fair to me. And this is coming from a guy who, as I understand it, grew up with a single mom in an impoverished area and then made himself a billionaire. So even though I don't like rap and I'm not a fan of Kanye's music, his story is a pretty American story. It's a pretty amazing American story. Here's Kanye talking about racism.
A lot of times, it's just the overall lack of reparations that we, at any given point, we say, oh, this is racist, this is racist, this is racist, this is racist. The liberal would try to control a black person through the concept of racism because they know that we are very proud, emotional people. So when I said I like Trump to like someone that's liberal, they'll say, oh, but he's racist. You think racism can control me? Oh, that don't stop me. That's an invisible wall.
Yes. Yeah. Slow clap for Kanye. And this is the point, right? The point that he's actually making here does not require you to be all that learned in politics. Right? When he says that racism is very often used by political actors in order to achieve a particular result, in order to manipulate people, that is certainly true. That is certainly true. So well done, Kanye, there. And then Kanye made everyone's head explode when he defended the Second Amendment, which is just badass. Here's Kanye doing that.
The debate about the Second Amendment going on.
The problem is illegal guns. Illegal guns is the problem. Not legal guns. We have the right to bear arms.
Oh no! All of their heads just exploded. Kanye actually saying the truth constitutionally about the Second Amendment. Now listen, as I say before, anytime you get in bed with a celebrity, you should expect that somebody's gonna get screwed. And the fact is that something could happen with Kanye as a personality that could be damaging to all of the points that he's making here. But take it at face value for what it is today. He is saying some things that need to be said. And when you hear an argument, you really, instead of first considering the source, you may first want to consider the validity of the argument. The argument that Kanye is making there is exactly right. Now, as I say, live by the Kanye, die by the Kanye. And I will explain in a second how the die by the Kanye half of this works. And then we'll get to the media coverage, which is the real story. The media coverage of this meeting is a much bigger story than Kanye actually visiting the White House. He's been to the White House before, I believe. I mean, he went there when Obama was president, actually. So it's not a giant shock, but we'll talk in a second about the media coverage. First, let's talk about how you make your business more efficient. Well, one way that you can make your business more efficient is by putting it on legally solid footing. You know the saying, time is money. It is true, especially when you run your own business, but legal takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of money, which is why you need to turn to LegalZoom. Over the last 17 years, more than 1 million Americans have used LegalZoom to help launch their businesses. But that is only the beginning. LegalZoom also now has a network of independent attorneys and tax professionals. They can provide you with the advice you need to get through the daily grind of running your business. And the best part is you don't have to worry about driving to anyone's office or being billed by the hour because LegalZoom isn't actually a law firm. You can count on LegalZoom to provide the business resources you need and service that fits into your schedule. Listen, I've been using LegalZoom since long before they had this attorney service. Now they have this network of independent attorneys. That broadens the scope of the services they can provide. It is just great because you can, I promise, you can spend a fortune on legal. If you can avoid that by going to LegalZoom, you should totally do it. Go to LegalZoom.com right now and use promo code Ben at checkout for special savings. Again, that's promo code Ben at LegalZoom.com. LegalZoom, where life meets legal. Go check it out, LegalZoom.com. Okay, so as I say, there's good Kanye and then there's bad Kanye. So it's great when people make good arguments. It's not as good when they juxtapose them with crazy talk. So I do have to point out that Kanye did engage in some very Kanye behavior. Kanye took out his phone and he proceeded to punch in his code, which, as it turns out, is 0000. And then it was funny. People were getting uptight about this because, how can you reveal Kanye's code on his phone? Do you have Kanye's phone? You don't, do you? So does it matter? Unless he loses his phone, it's not going to matter at all. But I will say that Kanye needs better code protection on his phone. That's it. Mr. West, I would appreciate it if you used some other number other than 000. In any case, he types in 0000, and then he proceeds to show the President of the United States a picture of a hydrogen-powered airplane. And this is a thing that happened because, I don't know, man. We all hit our head on the toilet, and now we invented the flux capacitor or something. So here's Kanye showing President Trump a hydrogen-powered airplane.
This right here is the iPlane 1. It's a hydrogen-powered airplane, and this is what our president should be flying in. Look at this, Jared.
We'll get rid of Air Force One. Can we get rid of Air Force One? No, you don't like that.
Well, we're gonna have Apple, an American company, work on this plane with. This is our president. He has to be the freshest, the flyest planes, the best factories.
Okay, so it all comes as a package, man. There is no separating this out. The same guy who's saying some good stuff about politics is also talking about hydrogen-powered I-planes. So that is the thing. I will say, just as an observer, it was really funny to watch President Trump during this meeting because President Trump is rarely blown out of a room by somebody else's sort of wackiness and charisma. Usually it's Trump blowing somebody else out of the room with that sort of stuff. Him sitting across from Kanye and looking at the look on President Trump's face, it's kind of like the look that Jeb Bush has on his face when he's in a room with President Trump. It's like Trump suddenly realized what it was like to be Jeb Bush and watch this guy who's a much bigger celebrity just jabbering at him and not knowing quite what to do. It was really funny. So you have to appreciate the humor in all of this. And also, is it a big deal that Kanye visited the White House? It would have been if we were a serious country, but we're not a serious country. We're not. Okay, Barack Obama was fine with having celebrities at the White House. I will show you in just 1 second. So the media came out. How dare this happen? How dare it? No, it's so bad. It's so terrible. So over on MSNBC, the hosts over there, Stephanie Ruhle and Ali Velshi, they just melted down. They suggested that Kanye West was an insane person, but they also suggested, Stephanie Ruhle goes, this is an assault on the White House. Really, again, in that room, Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky, knee pads, in the room. Hey, here's Stephanie Ruhle saying it's an assault on the White House that Kanye West's presence has defiled the Oval Office. Here she is.
Wow. Okay, I'm doing this for everybody who's watching us who turned their volume down. You can put it back up again. That
but
was
if you think you're
bonkers.
going to get a thoughtful play-by-play and political analysis, you're not, because that was an assault on our White House.
We're not. You can't analyze some of that stuff that was said. As we warned you at the top, there was a little bit of profanity. There was actually more than you heard. We were able to bleep some of it out, but there was some of it did make it in there.
Okay, Mom. Okay, I love the school marming there. Oh, yeah, it was just so terrible. It was just so awful. I mean, I can't believe anything like that has ever happened at the White House. Flashback, just a few years. Snoop Dogg went to the White House. You know, the great intellectual Snoop Dogg. He was or Snoop Lion, or whatever he calls himself these days, whatever variety of animal from Animal Kingdom he calls himself to follow Snoop. Okay, so Snoop Dogg was at the White House. And you know what he did at the White House? Here is Snoop Dogg talking about how he toked at the White House, how he smoked up at the White House. Like smoked pot at the White House. Don't worry, Kanye West's mere presence at the White House defiled it, but Snoop Dogg went there when Obama was president and smoked pot at the White House. And everyone in the media thought this was hilarious.
And when you got high before the White House, did you also then smoke it up a little bit in the bathroom when you were there?
That's what I was trying to get to, you know what I'm saying? I can't.
You did?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
You like that, don't you?
And nobody, and no...
And I met the butler.
You met the butler? And did you get him high?
I slid him a little something.
Yes!
And it was hilarious and funny and awesome. Oh my God, it's so great because Obama's president. And then as soon as Obama's not president, no. This is a stern office. This is an office where only great things have happened. This office. You know, great presidents, Teddy Roosevelt, FDR, they sat in this office. Monica Lewinsky knelt in this office. And I keep coming back to that because, again, if you're talking about defiling the Oval Office, there's a level beyond having Kanye West there. Okay, so the media, again, ignoring the fact that Barack Obama was ever president. I love this. Oh my God, how could Trump hobnob with celebrities? How could he have Kid Rock to the White House? Here is a picture of Jay-Z and Beyonce in the Situation Room. Okay, with Jay-Z, who wears the 5% medallion, which is like a quasi-Black Power medallion at basketball games. There are pictures of him doing that. It's really kind of crazy stuff. There he is sitting in the Situation Room, in the White House Situation Room, accompanied by Beyonce, and this was just all fun and games. It was just fun and games because, come on, man, Jay-Z and Beyonce, they're great. Can't go after Queen Bee. Come on. It was all fun when it was Obama. Then it was Kanye going to the White House, and it was just terrible. And then you remember this. Remember Common going to the White House. Now, do you remember Common is a rapper who has in the past cut songs in favor of Assata Shakur, an actual terrorist? An actual terrorist? Well, there he was in the White House. But don't worry, it didn't defile the White House in any way to have these folks, Common, who's rapped about supporting terrorism in the White House, but Kanye was there. And Kanye said nice things and wore a MAGA hat. That was what was really bad. Here is Common during the Obama administration.
It's an honor to be here in the White House Library. The Tiny Desk Concert Series has tried to give voice to people who have something to say in our culture, who move our culture forward and do amazing stuff. And in that spirit, NPR Music presents Common.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah. Again, this was a White House, Obama's White House. You want to talk about, this is the dirty little secret about Obama. Obama was just much more celebrity driven than Donald Trump. Everybody says, oh, he was celebrity president Trump. Obama was the first celebrity president. He had no credentials when he became president. He turned the White House into basically a revolving door of celebrities. He used to, you remember during Benghazi, he did a fundraiser in Las Vegas with Jay-Z and Beyonce. So if you want to talk about celebrity in the White House, you got to start with Barack Obama. He was the guy who really turned the White House. The guy did interviews with Glozell, like the lady who bathed in a bathtub full of Fruit Loops. Come on. Okay, so in just 1 second, we're going to get to the media reaction to all of this, which does show you how racist and terrible the media are. It really is. The reaction to this is astonishing. But first, let's talk about your need for energy. We live in a fast-paced, multitasking world all the time, and maybe drinking coffee and energy drinks isn't doing the trick. Well, they need to try Omax Cognitive Boost. It's a game-changing solution. It fuels peak performance by boosting memory, focus, energy, all-around crystal clear thinking. You will feel the difference immediately. Folks in the office have tried Omax, and I've noticed their productivity has gone up because they were totally unproductive before, and now they are halfway productive. And that is because of Omax. Omax is offering my listeners 70% off a 1-month supply of Cognitive Boost, plus free shipping and that 60-day money-back guarantee. All you have to do is go to omaxboost.com/Shapiro today and take advantage of the savings. That is omaxboost.com/Shapiro for 70% off a 1-month supply. This is, for a lot of folks, a game changer, and it can benefit you, perhaps. Go check it out right now at omaxboost.com/Shapiro, and you get 70% off a 1-month supply plus free shipping and a 60-day money-back guarantee. So if it doesn't work for you, you're not losing anything. That's omaxboost.com/Shapiro today to get 70% off that 1-month supply plus free shipping and the 60-day money-back guarantee. omaxboost.com/Shapiro. Terms and conditions do apply. Omax. Go check it out right now. Okay, so the media's response to Kanye, as I mentioned before, first of all, there was their shock and horror that Kanye would even be in the White House. How dare he? Then we get to the actual racism. So a bunch of Democrats are just racists. They're just racist. They think that the color of Kanye's skin should dictate his political viewpoint. That is racism. Now, I've said in the past that when there are people who say, I am Jewish, and I believe in abortion, for example, I've said that's not a Jewish principle. You know why? Because Judaism isn't an ethnicity only, it's a religion. Right? It's an actual set of principles. It's like saying that if you're pro-abortion and you say that you're Christian, that's really difficult to say because Christian is a set of principles. Black is not a set of principles. White is not a set of principles. Asian is not a set of principles. It's an ethnicity. It's a skin color. It's a race. Okay, none of those should dictate anything having to do with what goes on inside your head, obviously, because if we thought that it did, that would be textbook racism. But the left likes to engage in textbook racism. It's their favorite thing. So we begin with Donna Brazile. Donna Brazile, you will recall, was briefly the head of the DNC before it was learned that she had been allegedly leaking questions in the debates to Hillary Clinton to help her defeat Bernie Sanders when she was working over at CNN. Here is what she tweeted out. Hashtag, Kanye West has set us back 155 years. Wish Sojourner Truth could have met him outside the White House and Frederick Douglass inside the Oval Office. Barack Obama never would have become president with this crap. But let's meet Kanye on election day by voting for Democrats. So let's do the dating here. Kanye West has set us back 155 years. Well, it's 2018 now. Subtract 155 and you are talking about 1863 when slavery was still present. So let me get this straight. An uber wealthy black guy, like a billionaire black guy, goes to the White House to meet with the president, hugs the president, and gets the president to embrace criminal justice reform that he is pushing specifically because he thinks too many black men are in prison. And that's the same as slavery, according to Donna Brazile. That's the same as slavery, according to Donna Brazile. Oh, okay, sure, why not? Okay, that was not even the worst. Okay, that was just the beginning. Then there was these CNN contributors who decided to mock Kanye as a token Negro who was illiterate. Because there's nothing that says I'm not racist, quite like calling a black man who thinks differently a token Negro who's illiterate. Nothing quite like saying that. just astonishing. Here's two separate Democrats on CNN saying this. One of them is Bakari Sellers, and the other is Tara Setmeyer, and it's just bad stuff.
Kanye West is what happens when Negroes don't read. And we have this now, and now Donald Trump is going to use it and pervert it, and he's going to have somebody who can stand with him and take pictures.
Just looking at Scott's Scott's like, whoa, okay. So
That's objective news anchor Don Lemon laughing as Bakari Sellers says that Kanye West is what happens when Negroes don't read. Okay, well, imagine if anybody had said that about, how many books does Jay-Z read? Or Beyonce? Do I think that they are the great learned of Western civilization? I mean, I don't know. I somehow doubt it. But does that matter? They're allowed to have their own perspective. This idea that Kanye West is illiterate because he disagrees with you is basically racist. It's essentially racist. But Bakari Sellers can get away with it because he's a black man. So it's okay. Because Bakari is black and Kanye is black, he can call Kanye West a token Negro who is essentially illiterate and doesn't read books, as opposed to actually engaging with his argument. That wasn't the worst of it either. Then April Ryan shows up. So April Ryan is supposedly a reporter. She's actually mostly an activist. And she was on CNN, and she brought up a guy named Ray J. Now, for those of you who are not culturally fluent, Ray J is most famous for having done a sex tape with Kim Kardashian, who is currently Kanye West's wife. So Kanye West is married to Kim Kardashian. Kim Kardashian rose to prominence on the back, no pun intended, of the Ray J sex tape. April Ryan went for comment on the Kanye visit to the White House to the guy who stooped Kanye's wife on tape before she knew Kanye. All class, these members of the media, just all class. Here's April Ryan doing that routine.
Text messaging with Ray J. You know who Ray J is. He was once close with Kim Kardashian. He said, I think that it's a great opportunity for young black entrepreneurs and artists to talk one-on-one with the President of the United States of America. And he goes on to say this, but in watching the tape from CNN, he did say he's a little concerned. There is a concern right now.
Okay, reaching out to the ex-lover of a guy's wife for comment is just, that is not even beyond the bounds of journalistic ethics. That's beyond the bounds of ethics, period. It's just beyond ethics. It's crazy stuff. That's crazy. Why in the world would you think that Ray J has anything unique to offer to this situation except that he once slept with Kim Kardashian on tape? How is that even on CNN? How does CNN call itself a news network and do that sort of thing? That's just garbage. It's just garbage. And it gets even worse than that. So Don Lemon, who is a disgrace to the name of objective journalism. It's amazing. There are people who I think try to be objective on CNN. I've said before, I think Jake Tapper very often tries to be objective and tries to actually do his job. Don Lemon has forsaken all relationship with objectivity, but still somehow calls himself an objective news reporter, not an opinion journalist. Here is Don Lemon invoking Kanye West's dead mother to attack him. His dead mother to attack him. Don't worry, this is just journalism, guys. So much journalisming, so much reporting happening right here.
This was an embarrassment. Kanye's mother is rolling over in her grave. I spoke to one of her friends today, or texted with one of her friends today from Chicago, Donda's friends. I used to live there. I know him. She said Donda would be embarrassed by this.
Is that an okay thing? Is that something that we're doing now? We're allowed to attack people's dead relatives? Use their dead relatives to attack them? Not their dead relatives in the sense that, their dead relatives did something wrong, but in the sense that a dead relative who you didn't know and know nothing about and had a relationship with this man, that she would be ashamed of him? That she would be ashamed of Kanye West? This is sick. I'm sorry. This is just sick. And the media's overwrought reaction to the fact that Kanye West shows up in the White House is indicative of a couple of different things. One, it is indicative of the fact that when a black person says they like President Trump, the media hates no one like a black person who says they like President Trump. No one. Because they have violated the tenets of intersectionality, which suggests that we all think like our group. We all think like our ethnic group. So if you break away from that ethnic group, or you break away from that sexual group, right? You're a gay person who likes Trump, or you're a woman who likes Trump. If you're any of those things, then you're a traitor. Right? We saw this with all the women who supported Brett Kavanaugh. They were sex traitors. They had just given in to the patriarchy. They had internalized the Handmaid's Tale. And now we see this with Kanye West. He's a black guy who's really white on the inside. He's an Oreo, right? He's black on the outside, but white on the inside. He's in the sunken place, as people are now saying, right? That sort of stuff is deeply racist. But that's why the left is so upset with Kanye, is because he breaks two of their rules. One, he's a black man who supports Trump, not allowed. Two, he is a celebrity who supports Trump, also not allowed. For people to understand how much Trump is hated in Hollywood, you have to understand that in Hollywood, if you even express a remotely right-wing opinion, you will never work again. Never work again. I've said this before. I have celebrities who listen to this show. They're major I'm not talking A celebrities. I'm talking A-plus celebrities who listen to this show. And I've visited with some of them. I've had lunch or breakfast. People have come into this office who are quite famous. And I always tell them, do not mention that you have been here if you wish to work in this town. Because the bias in Hollywood is so extreme that it doesn't matter your size of celebrity. If you say that you've been associated with me, and I didn't vote for Trump in 2016, if you say that you associated with me, just a mainstream conservative who's pretty reasonable, then that is enough to lose you jobs. Right? That actually happened out here with Mark Duplass, who just got destroyed, right? Mark Duplass, the guy who directed Wild Wild Country on Netflix, and he's done a bunch of other, he's on the Mindy Project, he's done a bunch of other stuff. He came in here because he wanted to get a pro-gun opinion from somebody for his new movie. And so he came in, and I gave him like an hour and a half, and I said to him, don't tell anyone you've been here, because if you do, it will blow back on you. And then he foolishly went on Twitter and said I was a nice guy, and it ended his world. He was attacked so harshly on Twitter, he deleted the tweet and then put up a tweet apologizing for ever having tweeted that I was a nice guy. Right? Apologizing for that. That's how it works in Hollywood. So Kanye has broken two rules. He's a black man, and he's extraordinarily famous. And if you are a black, extraordinarily famous person, you are not allowed to be pro-Trump, and you are not allowed to be conservative in any way. You have to toe the liberal line. You wonder why, to Senya's great shock and dismay, Taylor Swift came out and embraced the Democratic Party? Because if you do not embrace the Democratic Party and you are a celebrity, they will tear you down. You know, we on the right joked for a long time about the fact that Taylor Swift had not said anything politically because the left kept calling on her to say something politically. Well, eventually she did because she finally was pressured into it. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about this, plus we will get to the mailbag in just a second. But first, let's talk about your imminent doom. We're all going to die. We know it. Okay, it's going to happen sooner or later. I hope later for you, but no matter when it happens, you want to make sure that your family is taken care of and they are not left begging in the street, your children orphaned like street urchins. Instead, you ought to have some life insurance. And the way that you get good life insurance is by going to Policy Genius. Policy Genius compares quotes from the top life insurance companies to find the best policy for you. It takes just 2 minutes to get a quote. And if you don't know the first thing about insurance, they've got all the tools you need to get up to speed. Learn the difference between term and whole life insurance, calculate how much coverage you need, and be sure you're making the right decision. In fact, over 4 million people have used Policy Genius to shop for insurance. Policy Genius doesn't just make life insurance easy. They also compare disability insurance, home insurance, auto insurance. So if you're looking for life insurance, this is the place to go, and other types of insurance as well. Whether you know something or nothing about insurance, start your search at policygenius.com. They also have lots of tools for learning about how exactly you can get the best insurance. In just 2 minutes, you can compare quotes, make an informed decision for you and your loved ones. Policy Genius is the easy way to compare and buy life insurance. Go check it out right now, policygenius.com. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit more about the Kanye of it all. Can you believe it? We'll get to that in just a second. But first, you're going to have to go over to Daily Wire and subscribe. You can get the rest of our show live. You can get the rest of Michael Knowles' terrible show live. You can get the rest of Andrew Klavan's show live. You can get all of those things. Plus, you get special access to Another Kingdom, which I talked about earlier in the show. Season 2, episodes 1 and 2 are available to subscribers today. So go check it out. Right now, it's got a really cool visual component that we haven't tried before. I think you'll like it. Go check it out for $9.99 a month or for $99 a year. It has returned, the greatest of all beverage vessels. It was missing while I was on the road. I used its cloaking device, but now it is back, and it is better than ever, and filled with the tears of leftists who don't like Kanye West and are very upset with him this morning. Go check it out over at dailywire.com for $99 a year, which is cheaper than the monthly. See, $99 sounds like it's more than $9, but it isn't because it's for the whole year. So you should get the annual subscription, not just the monthly subscription. Go check it out right now. Also, subscribe over at YouTube or SoundCloud or iTunes, any of these places, and leave us a review at iTunes. Those 5-star reviews really help us. Don't leave us those 3-star reviews because you're a jerk. Leave a 5-star review. Okay, those are the ones that we want. So go check it out right now, and you get access to the Sunday special. We have Jocko Willink coming up. We have a bunch of big-name guests who are coming up over the next month. We're very excited to announce those as they come out. We are the largest, fastest growing conservative podcast in the nation. Paired with 18% of insects, 16% of plants, and 8% of vertebrates for global warming of 2 degrees Celsius. So basically, everything is going to double. Okay? Everything is going to double, and for insects, it's going to triple. Everything bad is going to double, and then for insects, triple with 2 degrees Celsius of change versus 1.5 degrees Celsius of change. But that is expressed at medium confidence. Okay, so there's a 50-50 shot they're right. Are you willing to bet the future of the world economy and leave billions of people in poverty in developing nations on a 50-50 bet that they are right about the spread of insect-restricted areas? I mean, really, is that a bet that you're willing to make? Because now you're taking a virtual certainty that hundreds of millions of people will live in poverty and increased conditions of poverty, and you're betting that against the 50-50 possibility that some bugs will have less space to live, or that 16% of plants will lose half their climatically determined geographic range. Now, that's a serious consideration, but I think that there's also the possibility that, number one, the scientists are wrong, and number two, there's the possibility that technology tends to actually manifest itself in different ways, that when you see serious economic, serious environmental problems, technology is a good way of mitigating against that. In fact, there's a good case to be made that global warming, because it's a greenhouse effect, has acted kind of like a greenhouse. What you've seen is an increased greening in certain parts of the globe, specifically because of global warming. And that's sort of a repeated thing in this IPCC report. The more specific they get, the lower their confidence level. So, for example, they say about approximately 4% of the global terrestrial land area is projected to undergo a transformation of ecosystems from one type to another at 1 degree Celsius of global warming, compared with 13% at 2 degrees Celsius of global warming. So if it's 2 degrees Celsius global warming, 13% of the entire global terrestrial land area is going to be transformed in terms of ecosystem. But again, they say that with medium confidence. So what they say with full confidence is that 2 degrees is worse than 1.5 degrees. What they say with medium confidence, meaning half-half, is that this change will be really, really dramatic. Right? That's basically the case that they are making. Now, when I say all of this, folks on the left immediately say, well, you're a climate change denier. Again, I'm not denying climate change is taking place. I'm asking what the actual impact of climate change will be, and two, what measures will be necessary in order to curb said climate change. So I want to take another story that's in the news today because it's sort of astonishing. Yesterday, a guy won the Nobel Prize in economics. His name is William Nordhaus. He works over at Yale. And the left championed this guy, William Nordhaus. Why? Because William Nordhaus has, for years, been modeling what sort of economic systems would be best in terms of curbing global warming. And this has been his actual life work. So the left said, oh, look at that. That's a slap against Trump. It's a slap against the right. Finally, we're rewarding someone in economics who takes global warming seriously. But there's a serious problem with this particular take on William Nordhaus and Romer, the guy who he won a Nobel Prize in economics with. It turns out that their arguments actually undercut some of the arguments being made by the same folks who are promoting them and promoting this IPCC report. I'll explain in just a second. First, let's talk about improving the quality of your business. You want to get better employees? You want to get rid of the bad ones and you want to replace them with good ones? I know you do, Colton. I'm looking at you nodding right there. Well, if you do, don't be so sure, Colton. If you do, check out ZipRecruiter.com/dailywire. ZipRecruiter is the best site for job finding, okay? Unlike other job sites, ZipRecruiter does not wait for candidates to find you. Instead, ZipRecruiter finds them for you. They have powerful matching technology, scanning thousands of resumes, identifying people with the right skills, education, experience for your job, and actively inviting them to apply. So you get qualified candidates fast. You don't have to sort through wrong resumes. You don't have to wait for the right candidates to apply. It's no wonder that ZipRecruiter is rated #1 by employers in the United States. That rating comes from hiring sites on Trustpilot with over 1,000 reviews. And right now, my listeners can try ZipRecruiter for free at this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/dailywire. Go check it out for free. ZipRecruiter.com/dailywire. That's ZipRecruiter.com/dailywire. ZipRecruiter is indeed the smartest way to hire. That's why we use it at the Daily Wire offices ourselves. ZipRecruiter.com/dailywire and try it out for free. Okay, so as I say, a lot of folks on the left very excited about William Nordhaus actually winning a Nobel Prize in economics for his work on the economics of climate change. There's only one problem with this. Nordhaus actually argues that we should only intervene economically. We should only shift our economy when the costs of not intervening outweigh the costs of intervening, which makes a lot of sense, right? So if you're not going to intervene and the costs of climate change are really high, then you should intervene, right? This is how you make all your decisions in life. You make every decision in life. The cost of me acting, is it better or worse than the cost of me not acting? So what Nordhaus basically says is we have to determine whether the cost of action is more expensive than the cost of inaction. What point does that become a reality? At what point do we actually have to act? Well, according to Mr. Nordhaus, the actual number is the optimal temperature increase where we have to act is when there's a climate change of 4.1 degrees, which is about 2.3 degrees Celsius. Okay, so higher than anything the IPCC is talking about. In fact, his model is called DICE, and there is a 2013 model version that he posted in an Excel table. The key data here is that he estimated a cost in the year 2100 of 4% of global GDP, which is the equivalent of reducing annual growth over the century from about 2.27% to 2.22%, or postponing the prosperity of 2100 until 2103. So if the worst case scenarios hit, he is talking about a cost in the year 2100 of 4% of GDP, which is not all that high. We can cope with it. It's something that we can deal with. In August, he actually published an updated discussion of this model. I talked with Orrin Cass this morning, who's an expert on this stuff over at Manhattan Institute, does wonderful work. Like me, I think he's what you would call lukewarmer, meaning that he believes that global warming is happening, but he's skeptical of a lot of the answers that are being given for how to curb it. According to Orrin, Nordhaus published a discussion of his latest model in the American Economic Journal, in which he argued that holding warming below 2.5 degrees Celsius is implausible and not cost-effective. In other words, we've already hit 1.5 degrees Celsius. We've probably already hit 2 degrees Celsius. There's nothing we can do there. He says the optimal trajectory would be mitigation that reduces warming from 4.2 degrees Celsius to 3.5 degrees Celsius by 2100. Here's what he says. He says the international target for climate change with a limit of 2 degrees Celsius appears to be infeasible with reasonably accessible technologies, even with very ambitious abatement strategies. So in other words, the person that the left is now celebrating for winning the Nobel Prize in economics because it's a slap at Trump doesn't agree with them and doesn't agree with the IPCC on the sort of action that is necessary in order to avoid catastrophe. So it's pretty important thing to know, you would think, but the media is not covering any of that stuff. Instead, they're just going with the fully alarmist idea that we are on the brink of disaster and we're all going to die. The IPCC report, by the way, makes a bunch of political statements. Many of them are uncalled for, including they go after nuclear energy. So if you actually did want to curb carbon emissions, if you actually did want to prevent global warming by curbing greenhouse gases, presumably you'd be in favor of nuclear power. But the IPCC authors, because they are politically of the left, oppose nuclear energy. Here's what they say. They say nuclear energy can increase the risks of proliferation, have negative environmental effects, e.g. for water use, and have mixed effects for human health when replacing fossil fuels. Okay, that's just not true. Studies show that the nuclear energy industry is the safest industry in making electricity. Climate scientists found that nuclear energy has saved 1.8 million lives by preventing premature deaths from air pollution. This is according to Forbes.com. Where nuclear was 19% of U.S. electricity last year, solar and wind still constitute just 1.3 and 6.3% of electricity. But the IPCC is saying, forget nuclear, forget coal, forget gas. Instead, we need to bank on solar and wind. Yeah, good luck with all of that. Good luck with all of that. All of this seems, frankly, like an attempt to avoid the reality, which is that we have to make economic decisions based on possibilities and probabilities, that you don't get to destroy capitalism wholesale just because you don't like capitalism. And when you hear people saying wild things about how the cities are going to be underwater and millions of people are going to die and all the rest, just remember that there is an agenda backing some of these folks, and that the alarmist predictions of folks like Al Gore have not, in fact, come true. That doesn't mean we shouldn't take global warming seriously. We should. But that's why we should use money for abatement. That's why we should be looking at building levees. It's why we should be looking at creating barriers to tsunamis and figuring out exactly how to move people inland. It means that there are lots of ways over the course of the coming century for us to deal with some of the increased problems of climate. But exaggerating the problems of climate ain't going to do it. And then suggesting that we overthrow capitalism to do it is not exactly a smart solution. Nonetheless, radicalism rules the day. And it's driven by a sort of weird millenarianism. This idea that we are immanentizing the eschaton, that we are about to experience the end of time. Now, this existed in a lot of religious communities. The early Christian community thought that sort of the kingdom of God was at hand. It's happened in the Jewish community too. You see it among certain Muslim sects. Well, you see it in the secular world too. The idea that we are living in the end times and the apocalypse is basically upon us. And that means that harsh action is necessary. We need harsh action now. We need crazed action now, because if we don't, everyone is going to die. Millions will die. Millions will die. And we keep hearing this about the increase of hurricanes and tornadoes, even though there's been no actual increase in the number of hurricanes or tornadoes. We keep hearing this about the supposed outsized impact of hurricanes and tornadoes, even though, for example, in Bangladesh, which just experienced a pretty significant hurricane within the last year, About 4,000 people died in the 1990s. There was a similar-sized hurricane. 100,000 people died. What did that mean? It meant that Bangladesh actually spent the money and provided the resources necessary so that fewer people died. In other words, human beings, as intelligent animals, have the capacity to adapt to our environment. We've been doing it our entire existence. Nonetheless, the feeling that we are living in crisis mode has permeated the left to a really extraordinary extent. And that reaches all the way down to the lowest level of the Democratic Party. I mean, the lowest level, meaning the folks in Antifa. So if you haven't seen this, I have to show you this tape from Antifa in Portland. Antifa has basically taken over the city. For folks who don't know what Antifa is a wild leftist group. They call themselves anti-fascist. What they actually want to do is prevent anyone from saying anything they disagree with. They just want to prevent anyone from talking. They wear black. They beat people up who they disagree with. They took over an actual intersection in Portland, and the authorities did nothing about it because, of course, this is Portland.
Just go that way. Because I told you to.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Don't hurt
Yeah,
me.
brother.
Just go,
Yeah, you little
please.
white little.
Really?
Yeah, you're a little whitey, aren't you? The First Amendment. Get the down the road.
Please just keep going the direction.
Just please turn right
Please
for
go
Christ's
the
sake.
direction I asked
For
you to
Jesus
go.
Christ's sake, just turn
Please,
right.
you're
will ya?
blocking traffic and they're getting pissed at you. Blocking traffic. You can turn.
Okay, so obviously Antifa has taken over the city, and they're telling people where to go. Where the hell are the cops? Well, the answer is the cops are nowhere to be found because for months, Portland has been controlled by Antifa. There's an article from August 2018 by Andy, I believe it's pronounced Nago, or maybe the N is silent. He's an editor at Quillette, and he has a piece called "Anarchy Breaks Out in Portland with the Mayor's Blessing." Here's what he says. Along the trolley tracks behind the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Field Office, a biohazard cleanup crew works under police protection. It finds used needles and buckets of human waste simmering in nearly 100-degree heat. The smell of urine and feces fills the block. For more than 5 weeks, as many as 200 people had occupied the site to demand ICE's immediate abolition. They're gone now, but the community is left reeling. 38 days of government-sanctioned anarchy will do that. A mob surrounded ICE's office in southwest Portland June 19th. They barricaded the exit. They blocked the driveway. They sent guards to patrol the doors. They trapped workers inside at night. They laid on the street, stopped traffic at a critical junction near a hospital, and police stayed away. At this time, I am denying your request for additional resources, said Portland Police Bureau Deputy Chief Robert Day, writing to federal officers pleading for help. Hours later, the remaining ICE workers were finally evacuated by a small federal police team. The facility shut down for more than a week. So the locals just let Antifa run roughshod. And that's not really a surprise. The radicals have taken over large swaths of left. Tom Perez, the head of the DNC, is now essentially admitting that there are no moderates left in his own party.
When we see that there are no guardrails in Washington, I mean, we know that for sure. There are no moderate Democrats basically left, moderate Republicans left in the United States. There are no moderate Republicans left in the United States Senate.
Freudian slip there from Tom Perez. There are no moderate Democrats because there really are not. I mean, the number of moderate Democrats has declined. How much so? So much so that our own producer, Senya, is experiencing great tragedy today. I'll explain why this has an impact on Senya in just a second. But first, let's talk about your Second Amendment right. So you're a gun lover. That means the clock is ticking for you. How would you like to hit the range tomorrow with a brand new gun? I know I'd love that. And the USCCA wants to make that dream come true. They're here to help train and protect responsible gun owners like you and me. Right now, they're giving away free guns every day, so you got to check them out. They're giving away a different gun every single day, but it all ends soon. Just text SAFE to the number 87222. That's 87222. Get entered right now. You could get up to 24 chances to win your gun daily. It could be 24 Kimbers, 24 Glocks, 24 new SIGs. All you have to do is text SAFE, that's SAFE, to 87222, and that will reveal which gun you could be taking home today. But this all ends soon, and today's gun disappears at midnight, so you don't want to miss it. Don't put it off. Go check it out right now. Text SAFE to 87222. Get your free entry to win right now. That's SAFE to 87222. SAFE to 87222. Just go check it out right now. The USCCA has a lot of great services, ranging from legal services to educational services. They want to make sure that law-abiding gun owners have all the resources they need to fulfill their responsibilities under the Second Amendment and fulfill their rights under the Second Amendment. Go check it out right now by texting SAFE to 87222. Okay, I want to get to the saddest story of the day, even sadder than Nikki Haley for Senya, in just 1 second. But first, you're going to have to go over to dailywire.com and subscribe. For $9.99 a month, you get the rest of this show live. You also get the rest of Michael Knowles' show live, the rest of Andrew Klavan's show live as well. Also, when you subscribe right now, you get access early to the audio and video versions of Another Kingdom. Season 2 is coming out, I believe, on Friday, right? So season 2 is beginning on Friday with new episodes, and that includes a really cool visual component you won't get to see unless you are actually a member. So go check it out for $99 a year. You can get all of those things, plus the greatest in all beverage vessels, the leftist tears hot or cold tumbler, so valuable that I once again forgot it in my hotel room as I am on the road. I left it there for protection. It's the only thing in the safe. So go check that out right now, and you can have one even when I do not. Also, please leave us a review at iTunes. It really does help the rankings over at iTunes. So we encourage you to leave a 5-star review. If you don't like the show, don't leave a review. Instead, I think you have better things to do with your time, frankly. So go check us out right now. We are the largest, fastest growing conservative podcast in the nation. The saddest story of the day. There are no more moderates in the Democratic Party. There was a meme that was going around among Republicans for quite a while, in which the Democrats have this tendency, folks on the left have this tendency where they say things like, what we really need is we need celebrities to sound off on X. Why is Taylor Swift remaining silent in the face of X political issue? Why, Taylor Swift, why don't you have a comment on Brett Kavanaugh? Taylor Swift, why don't you have a comment on climate change? Taylor Swift, why don't you have a comment on this local dog catcher's race in Tennessee? It became a meme because the left demands fealty from its celebrities. And then the day came. Now, Senya, my producer, is a big Taylor Swift fan. When I say she's a big Taylor Swift fan, I mean she punishes me with Taylor Swift when I refuse to do my recording on time. If I do not record on time, she starts to punish me like it's Gitmo with the music of Taylor Swift. Yeah, there it is right now. And it doesn't matter how many times I tell Senya that Taylor Swift is not, in fact, the world's most genius lyricist, that Taylor Swift is no Cole Porter, that, in fact, when she says we are never, ever, ever getting back together and ever don't rhyme. This morning, Senya informed me that they do rhyme because they both end in ER, to which Colton quite aptly replied, so does the word murder. But it does not rhyme with either together or ever, which is 100% true. And also, Senya should know that since I have heard there's a rumor going around the office that Senya is, in fact, a serial killer. In any case, Taylor Swift has finally broken her silence, and it turns out, just like everyone else in Hollywood and the music industry, she is a person of the left. So here is what she tweeted. Well, she actually put it out on Instagram. Quote, I'm writing this post about the upcoming midterm elections on November 6th, in which I'll be voting in the state of Tennessee. In the past, I've been reluctant to publicly voice my political opinions, but due to several events in my life and in the world in the past 2 years, I feel very differently about that now. I always have and always will cast my vote based on which candidate will protect and fight for the human rights I believe we all deserve in this country. I believe in the fight for LGBTQ rights, because this is the big defining moral issue in Hollywood, even though we all agree that people should be treated with respect and honor in the United States, and that any form of discrimination based on sexual orientation or gender is wrong. I believe that the systemic racism we still see in this country towards people of color is terrifying, sickening, and prevalent. So this is Taylor Swift's, basically, her kind of torture note from the Maoist left. They put her in a room, they used some form, they shoved things under her fingernails, and they asked her to sign a statement that basically says she agrees with all of the main talking points of the left, and she did so. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt on behalf of Senya that she actually is a normal person who doesn't necessarily believe everything the left believes. But I have my doubts, Senya. I have my doubts. Well, President Trump has his doubts as well. So Taylor Swift finally came out with the typical left view that everybody always knew she had. And no one's really that upset about it except for Senya. The left wants people on the right to be upset, but I don't actually care what Taylor Swift has to say about politics because, as I've said 1 million times, I don't really care about what most celebrities have to say about politics. In any case, President Trump, I think, had the final word on the matter. Here was President Trump's opinion of Taylor Swift, a sentence no sentient human being ever thought would be read into our political lexicon. When George Washington founded the country, I'm sure he was thinking, when will we have a president who was a reality TV star commenting on a pop star's opinions of a Tennessee Senate race regarding LGBTQ rights? Yep, things are weird. Here's the President of the United States talking about Taylor Swift's musical abilities.
I'm sure Taylor Swift has nothing or doesn't know anything about her. And let's say that I like Taylor's music about 25% less now, okay? Thank you.
Okay, so well done, President Trump. Totally right on. Okay, the left has continued to get more and more extreme. In just a second, we're going to talk about all of that, and we're going to talk about President Trump's response to all of that. Okay, so the leftist extremism has not mitigated at all, particularly in the aftermath of Brett Kavanaugh being sworn in. So Brett Kavanaugh is sworn into the Supreme Court. President Trump introduced him yesterday at the White House, and the left said, how dare President Trump do this? Oh, except that Obama did it, and so did Bill Clinton. This is sort of a regular thing. But it was really bad because Trump did it. That's what we've learned. We've learned that normal things are really bad when President Trump does it. In fact, President Trump is an uncivil boor, right? That's what we keep hearing. But Hillary Clinton just came out and said, you cannot be civil with a political party that wants to destroy what you stand for. So all the civility on the right. Remember, we were told that the right was super dangerous in 2016? And then it turns out the left supports Antifa? Yeah, well, they're doing the same thing with regard to Trump doing normal things in the White House. He introduced Brett Kavanaugh and did what I think is correct. He apologized to Brett Kavanaugh for what Brett Kavanaugh just had to go through for simple partisan political reasons. Here's President Trump getting it correct.
On behalf of our nation, I want to apologize to Brett and the entire Kavanaugh family for the terrible pain and suffering you have been forced to endure. Our country, a man or a woman, must always be presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty.
Okay, so President Trump is correct about all that stuff. It turns out that independents didn't like how Kavanaugh was handled by Democrats either. By a 28-point margin, independents were not particularly fond of how Democrats handled all of that. But that's not going to stop the Democrats from doubling down. Here's an MSNBC legal panelist yesterday talking about how Brett Kavanaugh is going to issue in, and I kid you not, he was going to usher in a 1,000-year Reich, just like the Nazis. Here it is on MSNBC.
If this reign that they now have control over all three branches of government, we're going to see if this reign lasts for 30 days or 2 years or a 1,000-year Reich, because that is what these people have set themselves up for. And it's simply a question of whether or not the Democrats are going to join the battle and meet them at the polls.
It's a 1,000-year Reich now, because Brett Kavanaugh isn't just a gang rapist, he's also a Nazi. That's exciting news that we've found out about. And my favorite part of this particular segment, by the way, was Noah Rothman, a guy with whom I'm friends. He was on MSNBC, writes for Commentary Magazine, and he started trying to explain why Roe v. Wade was not settled law. And he was then accused of mansplaining on MSNBC, because this is how far we've come as a country.
He's not interested in overturning Roe.
Well, state laws will make it overturned.
Because he has a centrist philosophy, and conservatives were very disinterested.
I'm just no, you heard him. You heard him. He does not have a middle.
Conservative philosophy
don't do that. You're headed right towards mansplaining. You don't say I'm trying to explain something to a woman when it has to do with reproductive health care. Don't ever do that.
Because we are.
That's not a good idea.
The notion we are presenting here is that this is the forerunner of a murderous Nazi regime, which was just invoked. And I'm sorry that is an inaccurate and incendiary perception.
Okay, don't use the word explain when you're talking about reproductive issues, but what if you just got it wrong, lady? Like, what if you're just wrong? What if you don't know what Roe v. Wade does, or how it came about, or what its legal status is? What if you don't understand conservative judicial philosophy? It's mansplaining now. In the words of my colleague, Andrew Klavan, I'll be happy to stop mansplaining when you start woman understanding. It's so silly. It's so silly. But don't worry, the media have really got their stuff together. They're not out of their minds in any way. So, for example, when the president of the United States says that the left has decided to engage in a form of mobocracy, Jim Acosta, and find you somebody who loves you like Jim Acosta loves Jim Acosta. Jim Acosta over on CNN, he says, well, President Trump knows about mobs. He encourages mobs.
You know, there's talk of mob rule and so on. Mm-hmm. I mean, Brooke, have you been to a Trump rally? I mean, you know, you do hear rhetoric at those rallies that would conjure up images of a mob. Go back to the 2016 campaign when the president said, as a candidate, that he would like to punch protesters in the face and so on. And so perhaps the president knows what mob rule and mob tactics look like because he encourages them himself.
Okay, well, so do Democrats, because it turns out that people like Kamala Harris, who is a frontrunner for the Democratic nomination in 2020, she's now urging Democrats clearly to use anger to take back power. This is what Democrats are now going to do. They are actually encouraging anger and rage as a form of political currency.
Let this last week, and in all that we have experienced in terms of our frustrations and our anger and our sadness, let's use this week to give us all that